Hey folks, welcome back. Thanks for checking out part 2. In this entry, we're going to be talking about symmetry, and I hate symmetry. Apparently, that's a big deal in the sculpting world, getting everything to be the same on the right, on the left, on the up, on the down, everything in the 3D world. So you can see these lines where I've already started working on symmetry, and it's a little before and after. The best way to get set up is to pick out a lens like this one. It's a Japanese knockoff of the Canon 50mm, and it's a very flat lens. So I'm hooking it up to my DSLR, and I get everything nice and straight in front of my subject, in this case, of course, my torso. And I'm trying to get it as lined up as perfectly. No weird angles. I don't want to go from the left to the right. I want to be straight on as possible. So that's why I'm using these grids and the lines and the circles, so it all lines up nice. You can see my phone trying to take a picture of this while I'm working on it. A little tricky, but anyways, hope you'll check out my other links, my other social media pages, and check out what's going on. And we're loading everything into the computer now. So this is it, my raw file. I'm just doing a few really quick lighting tricks and tweaks, and right now I'm flattening the screen. So in Photoshop, it gives you an option for a lens correction, so it gets rid of any weird distortions or curvatures that the lens will inherently provide. So we want to get rid of all that so we have a nice flat image. Right now I'm trying to get the image cropped and lined up with that part of my wall. It kind of gives me an idea of what's straight. So I'm using the grid again to make sure that I've got everything nice and lined up and straight for me. So I'm getting as front on as possible so I can really get a good eye on this. So drawing a line right down the middle, super basic thing in Photoshop. You don't even need Photoshop, you can do anything else. And I can already tell I've got an issue right down the middle at the bottom of the abs. So I'm just drawing a few lines on here to check everything else, make sure I'm looking at it straight, and I'm looking at those 2 points on either side, checking out my pecs, my shoulders. Everything's looking pretty good. I'm not too mad about this. I've already done this process 2 or 3 times, so that's why it's not wildly off right now. I just take a few angles here and there, my planes, making sure everything is relatively on point. Remember, most of this is going to be cast in rubber, so it's going to have some forgiveness whenever it's all mounted to the actual suit, but we don't want anything horribly off. So yeah, just trying to see if all those points kind of line up in the right area, and they mostly do. I mean, that's close enough for government work. So there you can see the pec is a little bit below the line on that side. That's a bit of an issue. I'm going to have to address that. And then there's a highlight of the area on the abs that needs some work. You can see it's a little off to the side of that line. But my pec armpits look great. So I'm going to leave those alone and zoom in on this ab section. So this is where it needs some work. You can see that it's a little bit off to that side. My eyeball, when I'm working on this stuff, I can't really see it. But when I see it on screen in front of me and then I identify it, my eye is drawn to it every single time. So now when I zoom out, I'm looking at it, my brain sees it and I can't unsee it, and it drives me insane. So I've got to fix that, or after this is all over with, I'm going to hate myself for not having fixed that in the sculpting phase. So I'm just zooming in on this. You can see some of the details are a little rough. I haven't cleaned up all that stuff yet. That'll be later. No point really getting those details knocked out until I make sure everything is nice and lined up where it needs to be. So here I'm just kind of drawing out some stuff to make sure that I've got what I want to do in my head. So just in case you couldn't really tell what I was talking about, I'm going to have to kind of come up with a little bit more clay right there, maybe take away from the other side, and make sure I get everything nice and straight down the middle. So actually, this is the second time I've worked on this part of the abs. The last time they were leaning the other way, so I kind of overcompensated going back the other direction. And I mean, that's okay. I mean, that's what all this is for, and that's why I didn't do a heavy detailing on that side, just in case this was going to happen. And it's just part of the process. Gotta take your time, be patient. This isn't going to happen immediately, so I have to I can't be afraid to redo certain parts. I mean, some of it just has to be erased and redone. That's what I did the last time. You might have seen in some of the progress pictures before that I had completely smoothed out the abs at one point. That was in a fit of rage when I needed to erase what I had done. Spent hours trying to get those details perfect, and come to find out they were crooked. That was in the picture before. Okay, so now I've got my source material, the maquette that I'm trying to replicate into a basically a 6-foot figure costume, and I'm just kind of placing it over what I have. I'm getting the emblems to be about the same size, and get everything else lined up so that I can see if I'm where I want to be structurally speaking. So I just flip back and forth between those views to see if there's anything that jumps out at me that's horribly off at this point. And nothing really. Everything is pretty well where I need it to be. The shoulders are going to be a little bit different because I'm working on a body cast of a completely different person, and that maquette is on a small little figure. It's not even on a real person's body, so the proportions of the shoulders are going to be a little bit different from what is in that design and what I'm working on. And that's okay. I mean, it looks more like an action figure than a costume for a guy. So I'm really working on getting that V shape from the shoulders down to where the belt is going to go. Because that's what they started doing with the third and fourth movies. Everybody had very broad shoulders and narrow waists, and it just looked very powerful in those movies. That's part of the reason I think those costumes are awesome. So I'm looking at my shoulder here, and it is a little bit different. The bicep comes down quite a bit farther. I'm probably not going to bring that bicep down very far because in my experience with these suits, if it comes down too far, you end up having to cut it when you're gluing it down to your undersuit anyway. So I'll probably bring it down a little bit more and draw that line detail in there, get that more in line with what that maquette is showing, because they clearly had a straight line down that bicep, and that was part of it. And I really want to put that in there because, well, I want to get it as close as I can. So now you see where that little area is even crooked on the maquette, and that ab section is different from that ab section. The line is a little bit crooked too. So a few things that could be, you can even tell that one of the pecs is a little bit of a different shape across the top. Those lines, one is a little more round, one's a little flatter curve. A few reasons that could be is, one, this was a very quick project and they had to get through it fast for design. Or more likely, they had a slightly different design on the right side than the left side, so that the director and costuming directors could decide which one they liked better. So the original sculptor, I believe, was Jose Fernandez, probably worked up two different sides so that the director, which could have been Tim Burton at the time before Joel Schumacher, or costume designer Bob Ringwood could come in and say which one they liked better. I don't want to do that with what I'm doing. I want to have the exact same across the front, as close as I can anyway. I mean, I'm not perfect, so it's not gonna be perfect. These guys were industry professionals doing groundbreaking work on blockbuster movies 25 years ago using traditional medium. I am not. I'm just doing what I can to get as close to what the original design was as possible, and I'm learning as I can go along with this, and I'm just having fun doing it. So these ab sections are in a good spot. Everything looks nice and symmetrical with those. I'm going to stick with the design that's on the left side of the maquette, his left shoulder. I'm going to stick with that as what's going to be on both sides, because I think that was a little bit more different. It stood out a little bit more from the actual sonar we ended up with. The ones on the left I'm circling now, those were more like what we ended up with. And I want something different. I don't want what we already got. I want something that they had, something else they had in mind. And I think those ribs along the ribs, for lack of a better term, those tube looking things are really cool. And I want to put those in there. So yeah, other than that, the chest I definitely need to bring up a bit. Looking at the right pec, his left pec, it's a little too big, a little too droopy. I need to give it a facelift, bring it up some, and I think we'll be on track. So there's a few things looking at this that I need to work on and address, and I'll be working on those in the coming videos, like this arm over here, compared to that arm over there. They're not quite the same length. They're a little off. I need to beef those up. I'm going to take some advice from a fellow costumer who said I really need to give those biceps a little more definition, a little more power. He's definitely right. So that'll be in one of the coming videos. But the next video I'm going to work on is going to be on these abs right here. I want to show my process on working with that. It'll probably be a time-lapse video. Nothing too fancy, but you'll at least see how it goes. So there's all the areas I want to work on, and that's going to be the main task. And hopefully it won't take too long, and I can knock that out fairly quickly in a few nights and show you guys what it looks like. But that's it for this video, and I hope you guys check out the next one. Be sure to like and subscribe so that you can come back with me into episode 3. Thank you.